about Big CM. We haven't talked about him in a few weeks since he was basically giving his shit, handed his box, said you ain't got to leave, you ain't got to go home, you got to get the hell out of here,
Yeah.
take that shit back to Chicago. Um, what else? What else we got? Go ahead and stick to Stars. With the show Heels, I believe that show was canceled as well. He lost the other job as well. Um, but there was a report this week, in the Observer, basically saying, he's a free agent. They got Survivor Series in Chicago coming up. There's tons of talk of him returning to WWE. Um, I believe Booker T commented on this whole thing and said, whoever put this story out wanted this story out. Um,
That's how all stories work, Booker. You should know this as a journalist.
yeah. Wanted this out for a specific reason. He said, there have been rumors that it's happening, but those in WWE have only said that no deal's completed, and those close to Punk have told us that it is his intention to return, and the two sides are in talks. I believe Shinsuke Nakamura did a GTS tonight on Raw, so, I mean, this can kind of tell you where it's going. There are some similarities here to this White Rabbit Bray Wyatt thing they were doing last year, leaving, like, these, like, little trails and all that of different things. But CM Punk going back to WWE, I mean, James, this doesn't shock me at all.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about it, WWE is where he always wanted to be. I remember backstage.
I don't know about. I wouldn't go that far.
I remember backstage. The only person that was like holding this up, Fox wanted him in. The only person that kiboshed that shit was Vince McMahon. So
how long ago was this?
This was like 2019 before the pandemic.
Okay.
And then basically like backstage got done in with the pandemic essentially.
Okay.
But he always wanted to go back there, I think. And if they wanted him back then, they could have had him. And there would have been no comeback to AEW or anything. Now, him going there presents lots of issues with
that happens wherever he goes.
Yeah. That's true.
He remains in controversy.
Yeah. So I'm trying to figure out how this all will go down. How will this be wrapped and presented? Because I mean, this guy is a super, super. Like, I think a lot of people are married to pointing at CM Punk and calling him some kind of hypocrite or anything like that. I gotta let y'all know.
He don't care.
CM Punk does not give a fuck about like hypocrisy, lining up, sending out his promos where he's talked about on this day I left professional wrestling. Like, he doesn't care. He's going to do what it takes to be, in front of whatever audience, the right thing to say at the time to get himself over. That's what he does.
That's what most wrestlers do.
Like, this is someone without shame. This man will walk
like
in
most
there.
Wrestlers.
Yeah, this man will walk in there.
It's almost like we're shaming this man for being a wrestler and not like bigger than wrestling, right? Like, people bought the hype of that this dude was, here to be the face of change and all that stuff, and the voice of the voices and all that kind of stuff. Is like, I mean, look, it's a gimmick. He found it and it made it work for him, and I'm sure he believes in some of that stuff. He don't believe in all of it.
Nah. Zach Maki. There was one point where he said, I still think he got Colt moved to ROH. So there was at one point where I thought, nah, he didn't have nothing to do with it. I thought this was possibly a Tony Khan thing to try to put out a fire that turned actually into a fucking four-alarm, whatever the fuck. Y'all know what I'm trying to say. A 4-alarm fire or whatever. But, now, knowing how CM Punk is operated, in the return, banning motherfuckers from the building and stuff like that, this don't shock me.
Well, my thing is the way he's behaved about it is like, I've always felt that the most reasonable thing is that like Khan was trying to avoid that thing. Nothing need to even be said. It just happened, and like people were like, "Oh, well, you did it," and like Punk's like, "No, I had nothing to do with it," and like Khan's like, "He had nothing to do with it," and Khan's mind's like, "I had nothing to do," but the subtext is, "I did it too." He had nothing to do with it because I did it preemptively,
right?
And now, but so I don't know if it means a matter of distinction or not, but either way, like the people backstage don't like Punk because of it, and also they don't believe Khan, obviously, which is why this shit happened the way it happened.
But
but if this had one the case, it would have been something else anyway, right?
Correct.
So whatever.
As we saw.
Yeah.
Now
when does Jungle Boy like come off suspension? Do we know?
That's a great question.
Are they still in an investigation?
No. They wrapped up the investigation.
Okay. Did they ever finish the investigation and brawl out? I was unaware. I was never I was never known that like being known publicly that like they're done with that investigation the way that they were told that like there was an investigation.
So I remember the timeline being like they started dismissing people one by one, like basically when they were cleared from it. So like we would see like Brandon Cutler's back, Christopher Daniels is here, a couple other people, and then eventually the elite.
Did you say Christopher Daniels, the head of talent relations that was not allowed to be in the building for one of the collisions?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
But I'm looking at, him possibly going to WWE. I'm going to laugh for, just petty reasons or whatever. I'm like,
yeah.
So, yeah, I'm going to laugh at those promos. Like, obviously the headline, the buy one, get one free stuff. It's all there. Like, it's all there. Like, it's just like Cody. Where it's like, man, this is going to look bad when you play it all back.
Obviously, in the history of WWE, when there's two companies, Vince is really into buying because he's a mark. Like he's really into buying the people that talk the most shit, and that's the reason why, like, Cody knows that. Cody knew that. CM Punk knows that, right? So, I think the thing that's real funny is like all the stuff that happened with Cody, we laughed at it because it's like you talked all that cash, and now
people was clipping him up this week.
Yeah, and now because you see all this stuff, we got to clip you up, and this is what you said then, this is what it is now. Don't you feel foolish? And man, like the Punk take his ass to Saudi Arabia.
That's gonna be a legendary day on Twitter.
That's gonna be a big one. When that man in the main event night, the Saturday of WrestleMania this year, WrestleMania 40 versus Seth, some shit like that, or faces Cody, and the winner gets to go tonight too. We're gonna laugh at him.
Yep.
Yeah.
He got to take it too. Like we can't just like dismiss it all as, oh, this is a wrestler working. No, you can be cut just like the Russians. You can be cut.
Yeah. Because this ain't stuff you had to say. No one. These are the ideas you came up with.
All right.
You did that.
Oh, we got a whole.
You was out there on the, in the notes app thinking, oh, this will had the crowd going crazy. All right, we did go crazy, and we finna go just as crazy when your ass gotta walk it back.
So my mind got to wondering, who would be the funniest people that when you walk up to them and you say, hey, you're putting Phil over tonight, 1, 2, 3 in the middle.
Yeah.
And I had an idea.
Yeah.
And thank God I did, because, it's
a light show.
It's a light show.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at the WWE roster. I feel like, we're going to hold a little mini draft right here. We're going to draft 10 wrestlers between James and I. And we're going to, discuss on how funny it would be, that person's reaction, what it would actually do to that person,
the fan and the online discourse and fallout from it too.
Yes. So James, I'm gonna put the ball in your court first. You can have the number 1 overall pick. The frozen envelope is yours.
Oh man.
Man, we got lots of people. Like, dude, hold on. Do you have a WWE roster pulled up? I'm gonna
I
pull
do
one up.
not, but I don't think I need it because I already know there's three that immediately come to mind. There's three that immediately come to mind, and two of them are like everyone has probably had the same idea. I haven't looked at the chat. I don't have the chat up, but I'm certain people are throwing out the same two people. But yeah, I think with the first pick, I'm going to go with Cody Rhodes.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Cody Rhodes. Cody basically lost his spot as the master of ceremonies for AEW as Punk came in and took that role. He then struggled to figure out what the fuck he was going to do when he couldn't be that person, and then he took his ass
He started
on
lighting
to
himself on fire.
for
Literally set flame to his skin.
that happened. That did happen.
That
And we
man
were
walked
like,
out there with that gel on his back.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So he leaves, and as he leaves out, he says to us while he's doing the promo about Sammy Guevara in a ladder match. He then decides to say, you know what, I've had this promo saved, and I'm going to go ahead and use it. He cuts promos on CM Punk. He cuts promos on behalf of the Young Bucks for Red Dragon. He just going out like I don't know how to handle this.
Look, you know what that man was doing? That man was going out like Cleo at the end of Set It Off. Just he was just surrounded one by one, and then
like he was just stricken with grief and was like, this can't be the end, but I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna say stuff. So anyway, it's up in WWE. You know, the throne breaker, all that shit. He has to bend the knee. He has to go out there and lie again after saying that Sting was his favorite wrestler of all time. Has to come back and say the dude who broke the throne, he's actually Triple H, my favorite wrestler of all time. Has to go back on that. You know, has to go out there and cap. You know, and then he goes out there and talks about finishing the story, and then that's been the biggest meme of the year. Like that's gonna end up being like the IWC award nominee, a heavy contender to win, finishing the story.
Or failure of the year.
So he is up, you know, he gets back to another shot at it this year. And at the last second, the writer's strike happens, and then The Rock shows his ass up in Denver, and I know he had to be fucking shaken and stirred and all that, right? He's like, oh no, please, Mr. Dwayne Johnson, please don't take my main event from me. Please don't make me have to go get it another year from now or 2 years from now. You know they like to do the double up, right? So he seems to have avoided that crisis. And then the person that he left that took his spot is coming back in again, and that man was, a bigger deal in AEW than he was in. If you still look at it from that perspective, it's like, yeah, man, you can see a world where he takes that from him, right? And to do it is like because Punk comes out at 30 that Rumble, they both do the Luger and Bret Hart over the floor, sets up the penultimate pay-per-view for WrestleMania.
So look, the
winner.
You just implied that CM Punk steal more from Bret Hart.
Yeah. Basically. Look, he doing it the place to do it.
Hey, he's also doing it with a red, white, and blue motherfucker right there.
Yeah. Hey, remember when Cody had Alexa was talking about that? When he left, he needed money to pay off that bus that Meltzer was talking about.
Yes.
The Lex Express. Yeah, amazing. It all comes full circle.
Oh my god! And it's 2024, so that would be like 30-year anniversary.
Yeah, 30-year anniversary. Yeah,
Sick.
Yeah, brother. Yeah,
disgusting.
Yeah, to get to WrestleMania 40. Yeah,
boy, turn it off. Turn the show off.
So they do the match or whatever else, and whether it's the penultimate match or it's night one, whatever you want to do, penultimate pay-per-view for WrestleMania or night one of WrestleMania, whatever you want to do, had a match. Cody go out there and have to go to sleep. Oh man.
The clowning will be endless.
Look, you gotta take it down. You got another year, another meme of him not finishing the story, and then we get another year, another board of all these wrestlers finishing the story. See Susan Suzuki finish her story, right? Get to see all of that.
Amazing.
It would be amazing. It really would. So that's my number one pick. But I'm pretty sure what your number two is. It's kind of like the greatest WrestleMania match of all time. Is like, do you want to go with Austin and Brett, or do you want to go with Shawn and Undertaker? It's like, if one picks one, I know who the other one's picking. So go ahead with your number two.
With the number two pick, I select Seth freaking Rollins. Oh my God. If Seth Rollins had to go out there with that fake world title on day one of WrestleMania and put his shoulders on the mat for CM Punk.
Dress like an asshole to do it too. Don't discount that part. Yes. He gonna be dressed ridiculous to do it too.
Insane. Yes.
That man gonna be dressed like a Smurf and then be told backstage 5 minutes before he's gotta go out there. His big blue ass gotta go lay down for Big CM. Don't forget that part.
After all these years of carrying the flag for WWE, coming out here
from saying he don't want CM Punk back in wrestling,
calling him a cancer, basically saying, nah, keep that shit over there, essentially. Seth Rollins, a man who every time the world title goes around his waist, business goes in the trash, almost. Basically, people just never really quite feel his title runs. If he has to end that shit, hand it to CM Punk, flying that flag, he has to lose again to another one of them? Another one of them from AEW? After all those jobs I did to Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins might walk in the office, wherever the fuck, the booking room is, and he might just destroy the room like Ice Cube in the record label. He might take a baseball bat and start knocking shit off the walls. And it would be the funniest thing I've ever seen, and I would laugh at Seth Rollins until the end of time. I have not forgiven Seth Rollins for the Money in the Bank, for the Hell in a Cell match against Bray Wyatt. I think that is the worst match in professional wrestling history. If he comes out here and loses to CM Punk, I will need to be restrained. This would just be amazing, just on so many different levels. Yes, you finally get your WrestleMania main event, Seth Rollins, where you were advertised, and then you got to hand that shit to this other dude, and both of y'all second to Roman Reigns. Just chef's kiss, just like amazing. And that sound just like the most mid match possible, just the most 3 1/4 match possible. Oh my God, all of it, add it up.
All right, so I found it. So September 21st, I sent a message of a tweet that said from Russell Ops. According to Fightful, there's some frustration among members on the roster we spoke to that WWE announced a $1.4 billion SmackDown deal and then cut talent. One top star said that the most of this list barely had a chance considering they weren't booked and called it a circle that they couldn't escape, right? So so Greg was responsible as CM Punk must be asked for a lot of money. My response, Becky gonna have 2 crying babies at that house the day Big CM comes to WWE.
That's great.
Man, look, man, it's when this if that happens, CM, they tell Seth backstage, right, that he has to put over CM Punk. Within the next 48 hours of that conversation being had, will there or will there not be a time where Seth rests his head in Becky's lap and Becky has to console that man?
Absolutely. 100%. 100%.
Oh man. All right, we can move on. All right, so number 3.